Hi guys, and welcome to my updated video on how to make a custom livery in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Now, a lot of people on my previous video have made comments on it was very helpful, but obviously with the new patch update, the 1.8 patch, the way custom liveries are shared specifically is slightly different to how it used to be. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a custom livery, and most importantly, the changes you have to make since this new patch update. This is very important if you are part of a racing community, if you're part of the Bez racing community or another community. It's very important because this can stop freezes happening when people join races, so it's very important. So hope this video is very helpful. I hope you guys follow along and it's easy to follow, and without further ado, we'll get straight into it and how to make a custom livery with the new 1.8 patch. So first things first, you want to go into single player. You want to go into single player. Doesn't really matter where you've got it here, I don't think. I have an open series just so you have every car possible. And then you want to go to the team, click on the team and click add, and then you have your wide array of selection of cars. Choose the car you want to do the custom livery on, or the car you're going to drive, but obviously the one you want to do the custom livery on. So say I want to do the Audi, I'll click on the Audi, and it'll give you kind of base colors, base layer. So you want to put in the normal info. So your car number, so 1, 2, 3. That's mine. You put in whatever number you like to race with. Your team name, there's racing team. Then your nationality. So that's not your nationality, that's the nationality of the team. So I'll be want to put Great Britain. The cup you want to race in, Pro Am, Silver, whatever. Sponsors doesn't really matter because when you add your own custom sponsors, you can change that. The design, obviously this is the design you want to use on the car. So say I like this one, I'll choose this one. The banner is the only thing that you can't change. Even though you can add your own custom sponsors and change everything, you can't change this banner up here. So choose to that what you want. So if you want the Fanatec ones, the British GT ones, or your manufacturer one, make sure you change that. Now what I'm showing you here is if you want to use a in-game design and colors and then just add your own custom sponsors. If you want to have a fully blank canvas, a carbon fiber car, and so you can do your own design from scratch and do everything from scratch, I'll show you how to do that a bit later on. So here you just literally choose what you want, really. So say I like this design, and say I just want to do it satin metallic, and then I want the black also satin metallic, and then I want the trim on chrome. That's the design I want. I think it looks great, brilliant. The wheels, I think they look good black. Just a quick tip, if you are going to have a blank canvas and do everything carbon, the wheels will also reset to carbon, which means you can't paint the wheels, so your wheels will be carbon black. So if you do want painted wheels, use an in-game base design and livery, because if you use the carbon one and create your own, you can't change the wheels. You can, tip for those that want to change the wheels but also want to make their own design, you can modify over the top of the design. So say I like this design, but I wanted the red bits to be a slightly different color that ACC doesn't have. If I know where the red bits are when I'm using Photoshop or GIMP to do my own design, I can put a color that I want over the top of these red bits and change it, but obviously you have to know exactly where they are on the car. So it's easy for like a big stripe down the middle, because that's quite easy to get right, but these little ones will be a lot harder. But you can kind of do over the top of the car the in-game design if you wanted. Then the accents, obviously the bits around the outside of the wheels. So say I do those red, and then the auxiliary lights, every car has its own in different areas. I make it a color you can see. So here the Audi has the ones on the thing, or the one on the grill here. So say I like that one, I'll select that. So that's what I want. So I've got car number, team name, nationality, and I've used my base game design. Now, those of you who have already done custom liveries before will know what you used to do before. You used to add the sponsors or do the edits in GIMP or Photoshop, save the file, export the PNG to the ACC files, and then that meant you could then see it in the game and make changes. Now that doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately. So obviously first off, save the car and go back and then click confirm, and you've got your team here. You'll see setup. Now, like I said before, you could then now go and edit stuff, and then if you went back to like the main menu and then back into single player and back onto here, you would then see the edits you've done, like the sponsors you've added. Now that doesn't happen anymore. I'll show you what you need to do now, the important steps to take. First step is go to your documents. It doesn't matter where you have ACC saved. You want to go to your general documents, find Assetto Corsa Competizione in there, click on that. Now, three important files are two important folders, sorry, are customs and config. Now, customs is where everything will be saved. So cars, so obviously go by date modified. If you modify it by the newest first, that'll be the car you've just done. The first number is always the number of the car, so I create that 123, so it's 123. But date modified, you'll know which car you've just done. Now, the important things are in customs. You want to click on that and it'll open this file here, which is a .json file. So you'll see you have the team names already in here because you did it in game. The nationality you chose will be here because you've done it in game. Now, the important things on here are skin template key and custom skin name. Now, skin template key will be what design you chose in game. So I chose the base is 100 and I chose the 6th design along. So it's 106. If you want to do a from scratch carbon fiber design, you change this to 99 because 100 is the first in-game one, so 99 is fully carbon fiber. So that's the first important thing to do. If you want a carbon one, change that to 99. If you're using an in-game one, you can just leave it on whatever it is. Now this is the second most important thing, is the custom skin name, which probably is actually more important. Now, the way you save your custom skin name, I highly recommend to do it this way that I'm going to show you, because a lot of communities do it this way. If you're going to take part in the Bez Racing community, or if you're part of the Bez Racing community, definitely do it this way, because this is the way we do it. And this is car number, your name, the car that you're driving. That way, if your livery doesn't show for someone, they can find the folder, see what you've done wrong, and help you fix it. So that's car number, your name, and the car you're driving. So the example I'm going to give you for the Audi here. Hashtag 123. I am number 123. So if you're number 90, it'll be hashtag 90. If you're number 1, hashtag 1. So for my car, as you know, it's number 123. So it's hashtag 123. Underscore, then your surname. So my surname is Watson. So I put Watson. Now, if you use a fake name in a community or something, then obviously just put whatever your surname is on ACC or in the community so people know it's your car's livery folder. So mine's Watson, so I put underscore Watson, then underscore and the car you're driving. Now this doesn't have to be, people have different variations of different car, but just so people kind of know what car it is. So for example, on this one, I could put R8 Evo, or I could put Audi Evo. Both ways they know it's the Audi R8 Evo that I'm driving. So same with the Ferraris, you could put Ferrari Evo or 488 Evo. The Bentleys, you can put Bentley 2018 or Bentley 2015 or Continental 2018. Just a way for people to know which car it is. So I've done mine here. Hashtag the number, underscore surname, underscore the car I'm driving. Close that. It'll come up with a message saying, do you want to save the changes? Obviously you click yes and save the changes. So now you've done those changes. So I've set the skin template to 99, so I'm going to have a carbon car. And I've set the custom skin name to hashtag car number, underscore surname, underscore the car I'm driving. So now if I go back into single player and I go back to my team, you'll see I have a fully carbon car. blank canvas, fully carbon. Like I said, if you go to edit now, it doesn't matter what colors you select, it will stay carbon. The only thing that you can still change is the banner. And like I said, now because even the wheels count as part of the car, I can't change the color of the wheels. I can't change the color of the accents of the wheels. Auxiliary lights I can still change. So the only thing you can change is auxiliary lights and banner. So the rest of the design I'm going to do in-game. As you can see, all the sponsors have gone. The front, the bonnet number on the front's gone. We've only got the side numbers now. However, what used to happen, like I think I've mentioned, is you could now go and edit the car, go back to the main menu, just like what I kind of did there with the carbon fiber. I'd leave, go back in, and the change would appear. Now, the only reason why the changes appeared here is because it's not a custom livery. I've only done it in game so far. If you do things outside the game, they don't appear anymore because of the new thing that happened with the 1.8 update, which is what I'm going to show now. So, now, since the 1.8 update, this is what the changes happened. So obviously you go Documents, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Customs. Now, we've shown you cars, and liveries is the next thing you want to do. Liveries is all the liveries. You'll probably have this full for people in your community, or even people on online you come across. If they're using a custom livery, even though you can't see it, it will make a folder. The difference will be the ones that you don't have, the one that comes up will just have the JSON files, and the ones you do have will have the PNG files. And these new files that are created, which are the DDS files. So you have the PNG files, the JSON files, and the DDS files. So this is the difference. So when you create a custom livery, the game creates DDS files now, which is why if you then go and edit the PNG file because something wasn't quite in the right place, and then you go back into the game once you've made the edit, because these DDS files are from the previous PNG file, your edit doesn't show up in game unless you delete the DDS files, close ACC, open ACC back up, and then go back to the showroom. So there is a way to stop that from happening and doing it back to the old way, where you can see the changes straight away, which obviously narrows down the time that it will take you to make a custom livery, because you won't have to close the game every time you make a change. So there's two types of DDS files. There's the _0, which is the showroom files. When you go to the showroom for the first time, you'll get a freeze, and that's because it's creating this _0. Now, the first time you go to a racetrack, again, you'll get a freeze, and that's because it's creating this _1 DDS file. So the first thing you need to do is create a custom livery file. So obviously, again, ACC, customs, and instead of going to cars, you go to liveries. You want to create a new file, new folder, and you want to name this folder. Actually, I've just seen now, it's actually already done it for me. Sometimes it doesn't do it for you, so if you can't find it, I recommend before you do this, just deleting everything you've got in there, and then you can re-download the ones you need, once everyone's done this with the DDS files, with the new update, and you can get rid of the ones you don't need. So this has actually already done it for me. Sometimes it doesn't though, where you have to create your own, but this has already done it for me. So if I actually delete this new folder, as you can see down here, if I actually go by date modified, it will go to the top. I have this hashtag 123 _Watson _Audi Evo. That's the one I just created it. So it's created this for me, which is perfect, which means it's exactly the same name as the custom skin name I did in the car JSON file. Sometimes it doesn't create it for you, so you have to create your own folder. If you have to create your own folder, just make sure you do everything exactly the same. So all the caps, letters, and everything, and the underscores, exactly the same as you did it in the custom skin name in the cars JSON, so that it's identical. When I open this, you'll have the two JSON files. You'll have the decals and the sponsors. These are what changes the color, not the color, but the texture, the material, what you do. So in the decals ones, I tend to use for the design of the car. So you know, if I wanted a red car with like some black pattern, I'm going to create that and save it to decals. So here you have certain numbers set to different things. So you have base roughness 0, clear coat 1, clear coat roughness 0, metallic 0. Now, this different number combinations will make a different set of texture. So one will make it chrome, one will make it satin, one will make it satin metallic, one will make it glossy. I'll leave in the description of this video all the different ones. Sponsors, obviously, I tend to use this for the sponsors layers. So for the sponsors, now sponsors, again, you can make them chrome, glossy, matte, whatever you want. Well, I say whatever you want from the in-game ones that you saw when we were actually doing the in-game livery. And then again, whatever one you choose, copy it from the description that I'm going to put down there, and then paste it in here, and then it'll come up in that texture. Before we start editing the livery on GIMP, I use GIMP. If you use Photoshop, you can use Photoshop. They both work similarly. Obviously, GIMP's free, so for those guys who don't have Photoshop, download GIMP. I'll put a link in the description to the download for GIMP if you want to use that to make a custom livery. And but before we want to get going, obviously, like I said, these DDS files. So as you can see here, this is the Bentley that I edited a few days ago. I haven't used it in Erase yet, so I only have the _0. Once I use it in Erase, I'll have the _11, and I can share that whole folder. So before we get going, because we want to be able to see the changes in game like we used to be able to do, we want to go to config. So documents, Assetto Corsa Competizione, config. In config, you will find a folder called menu settings. You want to open this folder. So you want to hit Control F, which will open up the find. And I already have it typed in here because I've already done it before, but it'll be blank for you. And what you want to type in is tex, T-E-X, capital C, A-P, tex, cap. That's what you want to type in. You want to click in find next, and it will find text cap. You can close that now. And here are the two important things. So you have text cap. Now, for example, if you've already created a custom livery, and when I was showing you that it has either decals _0 or decals _1 for the DDS file, some people might have _2. If you have _2, it's a more compressed version of it. The game will run smoother, but your livery will look a bit worse in game. And that's probably because your text cap will be on 1. You want your on 2, sorry, and you want your text cap to be on 1. 1 is the best because it looks good, but it's still compressed that you shouldn't be able to get. You shouldn't get lags or freezes when someone joins or when you join a server. So make sure that your text cap is to 1. Now the other important thing, and this is the important thing for when you want to make custom livery edits while having ACC open and see the changes in game. Whereas right now, if I created a folder PNG, for example, and it created a DDS file, I then wouldn't see the changes that I made. So this is what the next one you want to change. Now, I almost forgot, first very important thing to do, that I've still got it open in the background, is before you do the changes in these menu settings, whether it's text cap or text DDS, you want to close ACC. So I'm just going to go and close ACC, and we'll go back to this screen where you can see what we need to do. So now I've got ACC closed. This is what you need to do. You need to change this text DDS to 0. Changing this text DDS to 0 means that no DDS file will be created when you enter the showroom. Because the problem is a DDS file will be created when you enter the showroom with your custom livery you've created. That means when you go back to the PNG file on GIMP or Photoshop and make changes, say something isn't quite lined up right, and then you save it, export it, and then you go back to the showroom, that DDS file is still there that has your old livery on it. So that means that it doesn't change when you go back to ACC unless you close ACC, delete the DDS file in the folder, and then reopen ACC, which obviously is really long-winded. So you want to change this text DDS to 0, which means that that won't happen. It'll do it the old way for those that know how it used to work, where you can make the changes and it'll appear in the showroom straight away. Now, obviously remember that once you've got your livery looking how you want it and it looks great, close ACC, open this file again and change that text DDS back to 1. And then when you open ACC again, go into the showroom, you'll have that freeze, it'll create this _0, go into erase, it'll create that, you'll have a freeze again, it'll create that _1, and then you'll have the folder with all the DDS files, which is what you need because you want to share that whole folder, including the DDS files. So when other people download that folder with the DDS files, they won't get the in-game freeze when you join their server. So change the text DDS to 0, close this, and click save. So the next thing is to open ACC again. And now I will show you how to make a custom livery for me on GIMP, because that's what I use, free software. If you're on Photoshop, you can follow along. It's very similar. Now, as you can see, we're back in the livery editor in-game. I've got my carbon fiber Audi. So now I want to make edit to it. So obviously, because I'm going for carbon fiber, I want to do everything. I want to do the decals, I want to make the design, I want to make the colors, as well as adding the sponsors. Now, how do we do that? This is where I'll show you. So in the description of this video, as well with the different number combinations for the different textures, there will be a link to a Google Drive that was kind of made by the YouTuber Boonatics, which has the wireframe of every car in the game. The only car that doesn't have a wireframe currently is the new M4. There is some wireframes out there if you can find one, but there's no official wireframe like all the other cars. However, I'm pretty sure that once that wireframe is out, it will be added to that folder, that Google Drive folder. So right now, if you want to do it to the BMW, you'll have to find your wireframe from somewhere else because there is no official one. There's a few people that have made some, but there's nothing official. But every other car you can make a custom livery on because they all have a wireframe. And that's what I will show you now. You hit the link that I have in the description. You'll get into this Google Drive that, like I said, is that's kindly made by the YouTuber Boonatics that has all the wireframes. I'll also put the link for the GT4 cars for those guys that want to make custom liveries on the GT4s. There's also one for the 2020 ones. For example, on here there is just the stock AMG GT3 because this whole folder was made before the 2020, the Evo GT3's AMG came out. So there'll be 3 links. There'll be one for the GT4, one for the 2020 cars, and then this one for every other car. So you'll have the one for sponsors as well, which is really nice. If you want to use these sponsors elsewhere on the car, you've got them on here. But yeah, so basically find your car. Like I said, the only one you won't find is the M4 on any of them because it hasn't got its official wireframe yet. So I've got the Audi R8 LMS Evo 2019. So I know because it's the Audi R8 Evo. Open it up. Open it up and you'll have 2. You'll have the PNG and the PSD. The PNG is a picture. You don't want that. You want the PSD. This will open in Photoshop, or if, like me, you have GIMP, it'll open up in GIMP. So you click it. As you can see, this is what the wireframe looks like. Different cars have, obviously, different wireframes, but also some cars are easier to make custom liveries on. Like Audi, for example, the front bumper area is completely split up, so it's very hard to find where it is and stuff. I'll show you how to find places. Whereas like some cars have like the whole front grille is like one piece, just like the bonnet, so it's like really easy to add a picture on there or something. So yeah, keep in mind different cars are different to make custom liveries on. But this is what the Audi one looks like. We want to hit that download button in the top right. So it's scanning for viruses. If it's the first time, I think it'll ask you, are you sure you want to download this because it's unprotected or whatever it asks you. And then here it'll come, where do you want to open with? If you have Photoshop, it'll say Photoshop. If you have GIMP, it'll have GIMP. Like I said, if you don't have either, I'll leave the link in the description for GIMP. It is free and it works really good for this. So I recommend getting it. And you want to click OK. And then that will start up GIMP. Now, once you open GIMP, it'll ask you this: if you want to import the image from a color profile. I always click keep, and here you will see we have the wireframe of the Audi, and it's appeared in front of us in all its glory. Now, over to the right hand side here, you have the different layers. So you have UV, color, leave transparent, sponsor, design, and BG. So before you export it, you always want to remove from view color and UV, because you don't want that to appear on your car. If this comes up, your car will be white. If this comes up, your car will have the wireframe pattern on it. If it's like this, it will be with the wireframe pattern in black. So obviously you want to get rid of those because you don't want those on your car. Sponsors another one. So obviously here it has the sponsors that you currently see on the car. But obviously if you want to put your sponsors in a different place, if you want to create your sponsors from scratch or whatever, you also make those invisible because you don't want them. So you can remove them. If you want to keep the sponsors, obviously when you get rid of the color, it automatically makes them invisible, because as you can see by the blue, they're all kind of linked. I'd always put the sponsors in the design above. That means you can get rid of them at your will. So if you do want to keep the black design and the sponsors, you now can. If you don't want it, the black design, you can get rid of that. If you want to use the sponsors and put your own wherever, obviously you can get rid of those as well now. Now, obviously we want to get being creative. Now, I'm just obviously not going to be very creative because this is just a base tutorial. I'll let you guys be creative. So first things first, I want to create a file and make sure it's transparent and name it whatever. Say I want this to be the red area of the car. Say I want it red. I'll probably just name it red. Obviously put it right at the top. I want to get the paintbrush. I want to select a red color like this, and you can paint wherever you want. If you want to paint a certain area like the door, I use this tool here, the paths tool, and I like to create a path around the whole door. And then make sure you shift, then click, then hit enter, and you can see it's all highlighted. I'll click the fill button, and I will fill this area, and now the whole door is red. So say, and then you can kind of select none, which is Control-Shift-A for the shortcut, and there we are. Now there's two ways. I can either do that again for the other door, or here I've labeled red because I was going to do all the red together separately, but say I wanted to now do it, you can always rename the layers. It's always possible to do it. So say I renamed this to door. I'm not going to do it because just to save time, but say I renamed it to door or something, and then I duplicate the layer, so it's red copy. So as you can see, if I grab it, I have the other one here. Then I can go to image, I think it is. Or is it layer? Layer, transform, flip horizontally, and as you can see now, it will fit perfectly to this door. And that way, I've now painted the two doors red. Beautiful. Say I want to put a sponsor on the rear wing. Now, I don't know which one part of this up here is going to be the underside of the rear wing, and one's going to be the top side. I don't know that yet. So one of the things I always do is, before I start messing around with stuff, this part I don't know, I'll label this number 1, and I'll label this number 2. Say I don't know what part of the car this is. Then I will label this part number 3. I've done this on the red, actually. Let me just remove that. I would create your own thing. I'm just gonna call it numbers or labels or whatever. So then you can just delete it once you're done, or remove the ones that you found or whatever. So yeah, so number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. I mean, I know this is the bonnet, but say I didn't. Number 5, So that way you can label things so you know exactly where it is. Like here, which side's the outside and which side's the inside of the wing. 6, 7. Okay, it looks like a 1, so I'm just gonna do that. 8, 9. That looks like a 9. It's quite hard to write in paint. And there we are. So that way, I've labeled the stuff I'm not sure about, and when it comes to it, I will. So now I'll show you how. So here I want to see it in game before I add sponsors on, because I want to be able to see if these numbers are in the right place. So I remove the design, I remove the UV, and I remove the color. Obviously, if you want to keep the black, I can keep the, so say I want to keep the design, I'll keep the black here. So here I'll only have the numbers, the design, the sponsors, and the bits I've done. So we go to File. Now I always recommend saving it, because then if you want to go back and make changes, then you still have the file to make the changes on. So I recommend always saving it in GIMP. But then you go to Export, and you want to go to Export As. Now in Export As, you want to go to Documents, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Customs, Liveries, and I'm going to select Date Modified, so it comes up with the _123, the hashtag 123_Watson_Audi Evo, and I click here. And you want to call this the name it is. So right, this one, even though I've got the sponsor, actually, that's a good shout. Let me close that for a second. So this one, I don't want the sponsors on this one. I just want this to be the design of the car, the base color and the designs. So I'm going to call this one Decals. And I want to name this one Decals. But see, it'll come up saying .json. The JSON's already created, so you want the .png, because like I said, the JSON is what the thing that has that number combination that creates the certain texture. So this is the Decals PNG. So this is the image, and the JSON will make that red. So whatever that combination is, I don't know whether it was glossy, chrome, or whatever, that's what it'll appear on as the car. So decal.png, export. Now you always want to click interlacing, and then export, and it'll export it. Now, if I open ACC, so if I open ACC here, I had it open the whole time, and I go to single player, and I go to my Audi that I created, find it on Bez Racing Team. As you can see, I have the red doors I created. So I added these red doors, now the red doors appear. Obviously the rest of it is still carbon. So as you can see, number 5, I think I've got 3 and 4, so now I know 3 and 4 is this little side end plate of the front bit. I know 6 and 9 are the outside of the wing. I know, I can't see the underside, but number 5? Well, that was 5. You gotta say, draw a bit better than me, but at least I know that the one that looks like this shape is the top side of the rear wing, and the other one that you can't quite see will be the underside. It's quite hard to see stuff in the showroom because of the glossy floor, but if you do put a sponsor on the rear side of the wing, like powered by AWS, which is the one that cars have in real life, you do see it on track, by the way. It's just on here, it's quite hard to see. I'll show you an example of a livery I've already made at the end, so you can see. But yeah, so now all the labels have come up. That's come up. I think it must have been glossy, the number combination, because that's what it looks like. And now I know that's what it looks like. So I go back and I will open GIMP again. We're back in GIMP. I can now make the sponsors and everything visible again, so I can see. Oh, it was a number 2. The one I didn't know what it was. So now I know what everything is. So now 6 and 9 are the outsides as well. So the numbers file, I can right click on it and I can delete the layer because I don't really care anymore. Now, so this one is the top side and this is the outsides. So what I want to do, I want to add a sponsor on the rear bumper. File, open as layer. Now I've got them saved in pictures, and I've got one called sponsors, and I've called car sponsors. I don't remember what the difference is, but I think car sponsors is my car and sponsors are the ones, because I've made liveries for other people before as well. So yeah, so I'd say make a document in pictures and save all the pictures you want there. So say I open car sponsors, I have all the ones. I have IKEA, all the ones that I used on the cars, the CSR one, BBS, Tiger, Sparko, the Bentley logo. I've literally got everything I use, Noctua, everything I've got, and even the ones that are already on the car, like the GT World Challenge and the ACC logos, I've got here. So what do I want on the rear wing? IKEA, let's say I want IKEA sponsors. So I open it, and as you can see, here's the IKEA logo, beautifully opened here. So I select the moving tool, I move it to the rear wing. Oh look, it doesn't quite fit. It actually fits perfectly, it's just not really wide enough. I could stretch it, but I don't really want to stretch it. I could find a different image that would fit better. But say that looks fine. I know it doesn't, but say it did, I'll stick that there. So that's the IKEA one. File, open as layer. Now, say I want, the one I like to do is having the UK flag on the end plates of the rear wing. Open the UK flag, bring it here. Now, this is clearly too big. Right click on it, scale layer to what, 300? That sometimes you just need a test. Okay, 300 is too big. I'll undo that. Because the more changes you make, the more distorted the image gets. So I'd say if it's still too big, just click Control Z and undo, and then try again. So 200. Okay, 200 might do really well. Yeah, it does. And then I want to select this tool up here, the rotate tool, and then I can rotate it and put it over the top. Now, if you want it to fit like perfectly, one thing you can always do is you can always select the outline of that. So if I select this but then make it invisible, but as you can see by the lines it's still there, and then use the paths tool and go around this end plate, and then remember you just click and then shift click on the thing to rejoin, enter. So that's created a path tool, and as you can see here, it's not really lined up to where the end plate actually is. So say I click this and I just move it. Okay, there, the Union Jack will be perfect there on the end plate. What you do now is on this one where you have the rotate, you want to go to scale, so or click Shift S to automatically have it, and you want to click on it, and you'll see you'll have these corners that show up, and what you want to do is just extend it ever so slightly because you don't want to change it, but say there, now it fits, as you can see by the dotted lines, it fits perfectly where the Union Jack is. Hit enter, and down here it says floating selection transformation. You want to use that to create a new layer, and then the old flag, as you'll see if I once I pull it away, if I select the select tool again, has this hole in the middle. You can delete that now, and you can see this is now called transformation. You can rename it, but you can see now it fits perfectly on the thing. Again, just like I did with the door, if you don't want to do it again and it's a similar shape, duplicate the layer, move over to this side. Obviously it's the wrong way around. Layer, transform, flip horizontally, and look at that. Fits perfectly. So now I've got my sponsors. Obviously, if you want to add more sponsors, you want to add more sponsors. So what do I do? Well, I want to get rid of the red because obviously that's on the decals PNG. And I want to get rid of the design and the UV, but I want to keep all the sponsors. Now, for example, say I did a change on the decals on the red and I added more, then you just do files, export to decals again. You don't have to go export as, so that's easy. But obviously this time I want to do the sponsors. So I go again, export as. Oh, it's brought me straight to the right document, which is perfect. But instead of decals.png, you want to call it sponsors.png. Click enter. Obviously interlacing is already ticked because I've already done it once, but make sure that's ticked. Export, and there we go. So now let's go back to ACC and see what the car looks like. So we're in the main menu, single player. On here, obviously the red's still there. And look, I've now got the Union Jack on the outside of the wings and the IKEA logo, which is upside down. That's why I couldn't tell what the number was, which is upside down. So obviously here it's upside down. It's facing this way, which isn't great. But again, like I said, you can then very easily confirm. I always go back to the main menu so there's no freezes or anything. switch back over to GIMP. So I know this IKEA is upside down. Let me just put the UV on so I can see. Select the IKEA thing. Select rotate. Click on it. I want to rotate it by 180 degrees. Rotate. There we are. Now it should be the right way around. Remove the UV. Everything else is in the right position. Beautifully. File. Now it's already there. Export to sponsors.png. Brilliant. Click that. It will re-export it. We go back to ACC. Back to single player. On here. And look, the IKEA logo is now... I'm really confused. Still upside down. Oh, is it reversed? Ah, it's reversed. Okay. Okay. I see what it was. It wasn't upside down, actually. It was reversed. But you get the gist. You kind of have to play around with it. Okay, so I actually have to flip it the other way. But then once I've done that, then it'll be the right way around. But you get the gist that that's the way you do it. You can then have it. I still have the numbers on because I haven't changed the exported the decals one. That's why these are still on there. If I export the decals one now that I've removed these, like for example, I'll show you. So we'll go back to the main menu, open back GIMP. So the IKEA one, was it flipped it needed to do? I think it was flipped horizontally. I think it needs to be that way. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, so yeah, I did that edit. Don't know if that's correct. Obviously, you're going to be a lot more precise when you're making a proper livery. So that's that. Again, remove the UV. If you want to add lettering or something, you can just add, like, for example, if I want sponsors, I want on the roof just the letter B or something. You can obviously just type and then that will appear. That's very simple to do. So yeah, so that's this. Remove the UV. I don't know if that's the right way around still or not. But yeah, export to sponsors. I'll do that. So now I want to re-export the decals one with the red doors, but obviously without the numbers now I've got rid of them. So remove all the stuff that I don't want, like the IKEA and the sponsors. I want the design though, because I say I want to keep the black. I'll pull on the UV. Say I want the roof to be I want the roof to be red as well. Roughly go around the outside. Again, like I said, you'll probably be a lot more precise when you're doing this than I am. Round all of it we go. Attach it, remember, shift and then attach it, then click enter, red. And I made a mistake here. I've actually done it on the IKEA one instead of the red one. Now I can do it on the red one. So make sure you're on the right layer to do it on, because some layers, like you see this red one only has this little yellow line around it, so it's only this section. So if I try to paint here, it won't let me now, whereas the other red one goes around the whole image. Now if you wanted to do this, it's very easy. You just go layer to image size, and now it's on the image size. So if you have that issue, it's completely fine. It's the same on the sponsors one. As you can see, if you wanted to edit the sponsors that they already have on there, it's only, or if you want to add your sponsors to their sponsors, it's only this little section here. So if you want to add one on the front here, it wouldn't come up, which could be quite annoying. Again, you just go layer to image size, and then now that fixes your issue. So now I've got the red roof and the red doors. That's all I want. And then obviously the design that I've made visible because I want that. Let me just select none. And now I've got everything I want here. It's clear. I don't want the sponsors because that's saved to the sponsors one. File. Obviously I don't want to export to sponsors. I want to export as. Click on the decals one. Yes, export. It'll ask me if I want to replace it. Yes, I do. Obviously interlacing is already ticked. Export. And there we are. Let's go back to ACC. So, back to ACC, back on the main menu. Single player. Here, as you can see now, the numbers have gone, and we have the red roof. Absolutely beautiful. Terrible design, terrible livery. Oh, the IKEA one's actually done properly. It's actually facing the wrong way because I flipped it, but at least it's correct on this side. But there we are. So that is how you make your custom livery in-game with the patch 1.8. So I'll show you, for example, the Bentley 2018. Select the Bez Racing Team one. If you select the same name, for example, so on here where it asks you to do a name, if you select the same name, you'll be able to have several cars. So obviously because I selected Bez Racing Team for my solo league car, which is this one, as you can see, I did this one complete from scratch. So it was from carbon fiber. I did all of this in GIMP. I did one layer. So for example, I did this black kind of camo pattern as the sponsors layer in matte underneath, and then I did the sponsors, so all these sponsors on here, along with the green as the decals, layer as chrome. So that's why, so you can, if you want two different, like a backdrop and then something over the top, you can use the sponsors layer for decals as well, like I've done. But obviously then you have to choose whether you want the sponsors in matte or chrome, because you only have these two files. As you only have these two files. So I said I wanted the sponsors in chrome because I wanted this big BRT and the planet from the Ecosia logo and everything in chrome as well. So that's what I've done for this one. As you can see, I've got the carbon wheels still because obviously I can't change them. Or the team livery we did. Now the team livery we did, the reason why I've still got the gold accents and I could change the wheels if I wanted, is because we did a very cool thing of using an in-game base livery. So as you will see, if I stay on Bentley but I select the M Sport, this pattern here I didn't create myself. This pattern was created by the game, by one of the liveries. So what we did is we created a livery with this pattern, but we made it silver. If I go back, we made the car silver. So this whole middle bit is silver with this in-game pattern, silver and black, and it looks really cool. But we wanted a gold and black. So what we did, we went into GIMP and created one side gold and one side black, and that way we could use an in-game livery for one part of the car and then use the external editors to make the sponsors and the rest part of the car. This is what I mean by you can go over the in-game liveries if you wanted to change the tire colors and everything. And then this is what the car can look like, which I'm very proud of this one. I think it looks brilliant. One of my favorite designs I've made. So this is the kind of things you can make. I'm not the best at livery designing. People have made better ones than me. So there's other tutorials out there, but I wanted to make this tutorial on what's changed with the 1.8. I open up GIMP. I don't really care about this Audi one anymore. So if I just open, and then if I go to documents, GIMP. So here's where I've say, as you can see, I've got thumbnails I make on here and anything. And if I go to cars, you can see I have Bentley 2019. I've got other people's cars I've made on here as well. So if I go Bentley 2019, I've got obviously the hashtag 123 is my car that I made, and then the for the solo league, and then the ones I've just called sponsors and decals is for the team Bentley. So if I open the decals one, this is what it looks like. So if I open the UV and the color so you can see more, as you can see, obviously the center of the car I didn't touch because that was the in-game pattern that I had that you could see. But then around the outside of the car, I did the whole gold and black reverse thing so that it looks all together really nicely with that gold and black. And if I go to File, Open, and open the sponsors one, you'll see this is the sponsors one that I had. So as you can see, if I go further up on this one, I've got so many sponsors, different layers of sponsors to make them come through clearly. If I open everything, you can see. So I've got the sponsors on here, I added my own on there. So these are the ones that are already on the car, but I added my own just so they were in a slightly different position. Did the sponsors on the front, on the side, did the names with the flags. I will leave also in the description a link to, I made a Google Drive folder with these GT World Challenge style flags. There isn't every flag in the world because the only ones I could find are on their website. So it's literally just drivers that already exist from that country. So there is a lot of flags out there, but there's a couple missing if there was a driver that's not from that country, that's never raced in GT World Challenge. But so I'll leave that file as well. But yeah, so this is basically how you make custom liveries in game. So the last thing to show you is if we close ACC and then go back to that folder that I showed you to turn to 0 so that you could see your changes being made. Obviously, the last thing to do is go back to Documents, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Config, Menu Settings, Control F. Obviously, text cap's already in there. Once you've done it, one will always appear. Find next. There, text DDS down here. I want to change that back to 1. Close that. It'll ask me if I want to save it. Yes. Because then if I go to Custom and Liveries, and then the Audi one will be up here. As you can see, even though I've been in the showroom, there's only the PNG files and the JSON files. Now, if I did want to change the red right now on the decals, I can still do it because it hasn't created the DDS yet. So say I want to make it a different color. Let me just find the different patterns. So I've just got the satin metallic one. So let me just remove that. Control V to paste. And as you can see, 0.3, 0.5, 0.3, 0.7. I've changed it to metallic. Close it. It'll ask me if I want to save it. Yes, of course. Sponsors I'll just keep the same. So now I've got that. Close that and reopen ACC. And you'll see what happens when I open the showroom. Back to ACC. Now I've changed that text DDS to back to 1. Reopened ACC. Go into single player. Obviously I'm on the Bentley right now. But if I go to the Audi and if I select my team, what you will see is it'll have a slight freeze. There it is. It's frozen right now. It's frozen. I can't do anything. That's because it's creating that DDS file. Here we go. Now it's unfrozen. I should have that DDS 0 file. As you can see, that last minute change I did before the DDS files were created because I hadn't loaded the game. The red's now satin instead of glossy. It looks really cool. I mean, the car still looks terrible because it's a rough job, but you know, showing you how it's done. So now I've got that. If I open up Assetto Corsa Competizione, Customs, Liveries, and the Audi one, as you can see, I now have the _0 one. That's why it froze. So let's go back to the game and let's start a session. I don't want to do a race. Start a session in practice and let's load in. So now I've loaded in. There was a slight freeze while I was loading in. Nothing major.
Green light, go, go, go.
I don't really need to have to drive around. Let me quit back out. I can leave. Doesn't matter anymore. But the most important is I've been into a race session. I now go back here. And as you can see when I open it, _1 DDS files have been created. Brilliant. So now I have everything I need. I can literally just grab this folder and basically drag and drop it wherever really your league keeps it. So for us, we have a Google Drive where everyone has their folder. For example, if I bring up ours, I'll load up, as you can see here, the league liveries for our thing. So it has everyone, as you can see, everyone's labeled their cars properly. And what I'd be able to do is just drag it, and then as you can see, I can just drop it in there. It says drop files instantly to upload them. Obviously I'm not going to do it because I'm not actually using this car, and then that way it's perfectly done. So as you can see, if we just go on Runo, for example, he just has the decals PNG, the decals and the sponsors JSONs, whereas if you go to, let's see if I can find my Bentley, I have the DDS files. So now when I'm loading in a server, I won't create any lag or freezes for anyone. So this is what we want everyone in our league to do. I know everyone in other communities and leagues also want that to happen. So yeah, so that's everything. I really hope that this tutorial helped. It's quite a long tutorial, but I went through step by step and with explanations. I might make a shorter tutorial or like a YouTube short later on, just of the important things that have changed for those people that already know how to make liveries and everything. So hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was really helpful. Like always, if you have any questions, just don't be afraid to comment and I'll answer all your questions. Hopefully a lot of people will come and join our league from this video. We are currently running a solo league, which is halfway through the season. But we have a teams league that we're looking for more teams to join. So if you want to have a racing partner, or if you want to find a racing partner and race with them in endurance races, come join our league. I'll leave links in the description for our leagues and other things. And I hope this video really helped, and I hope you guys found it useful.